Hey, I want to welcome our viewers to Kennesaw Happenings. We're here at Overture, and we're talking with a senior consultant, and we wanted to invite him into our studio so you can really have a better idea of really options. We want you to know, as you get into the senior world, there's a lot of choices, and there's a lot of decisions that have to be made. So Christian's going to come. We're going to first, introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and who you serve, Christian.
Yeah, so my name is Christian Kuswita. So I actually own and the president of ComForCare Home Care. So we provide the assistance for all ages when they need some help with their activities of daily living. But today I'm actually here representing ACAP. So ACAP stands for Adult Children for Aging Parents, which is a free community in Cobb and Cherokee that provides the support, information, education for the adult children as they're caring for their aging parents.
Well, it's needed out there, Christian. I'm at the age where my peers are seeking guidance for their parents. So a good friend of mine called me, Craig, this is for you, called me and he said, yeah, I'm looking for a place for my mom. And I said, so how's it going? He said, well, it's a lot out there. I said, yes. I said, Craig, do you realize my podcast is for senior living? He goes, no, I think so. No. I said, who's helping you? And so he told me the person, but that person was an expert in Dunwoody, where he lives. Every person, like you're talking about here, they have to know the landscape of their footprint because every footprint's different. You can even have one company here that's strong with leaders and you go up to Alpharetta, completely different. So how did you get into the business? What was like that first time 4 years ago? I know we talked before we got on. What was your reason for getting into what you're doing right now?
Well, I think long story short is that, I've been in corporate America for about almost 30 years. And I think at that point in time, felt really dissatisfied with just the passion wasn't there anymore, right? And so I was looking at ways to kind of change myself, but also to fulfill that, what can I do that really to help people? Well, 11 years ago, my dad passed away because of a stroke. It's actually not the stroke that killed him. It was actually the isolation, right? So he had a stroke, he was paralyzed, and then we actually got a caregiver for him. That was really good, and she could do everything for my dad. The only thing that she couldn't do was to connect with him, right? And so because he was isolated for 6 months, that's when I think he just gave up the will to live, and then he passed away. So I think when we were searching for that new opportunity, my wife and I, who actually worked together in this, we knew we couldn't help my dad, right? But I think if we can just help that one person out there that is actually doing, going through the same situation, then that's the best thing that we can do with our life.
So. Yeah, I mean, I always like to, when have people on, nobody can be in your shoes.
Right.
Your journey is unique. It hits at your heart, obviously, with the passing of your dad, and that reason of isolation is real. To be isolated as a senior is real, and being isolated is the decline. So community is the uptick of people's ability to build relationships, to get that will to keep going. Because when you hit a certain age, you really have to dig deep into what your why is, because you raise kids, you do all this, you might lose a spouse. Now you have to say, what's my life going forward? So what would you say? Tell us about the community that we were chatting about, and how that works for the county that we're in.
Yeah, so I'd love to do that. So ACAP, again, Adult Children of Aging Parents, right? It's not for the seniors, but it's more for the support support of the family members
Right.
that support that particular senior, right? So it could be the adult children,
Mm-hmm.
but it could also be the spouse,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because a lot of the times we know the spouse is the caregiver or caretaker for
Absolutely.
that senior. But the goal of this is to provide that free community where people can come in and learn.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just give you a little bit more history about ACAP. So
Yeah,
ACAP
absolutely.
was founded for Frances Hall. She is from North Carolina, and why she founded the organization is she was moving her mom from Alabama to North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And she found that with that move, there were so many things that she didn't know about how to care for her mom as she's moving there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so she started this, small community that suddenly grew and grew. And then she started to make the curriculums, invite, guest speakers, and all of a sudden it becomes, more informational, educational driven type of community.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're opening the same chapter here in Cobb and Cherokee. So we work through a evidence-based curriculums that Frances Hall had created,
Mm-hmm.
right? And every month we meet at the third Thursday of the month from 6:30 to 8 o'clock at the Covenant Presbyterian Church in Marietta, just
Mm-hmm.
intersection of Canton and Piedmont there. And we meet for an hour and a half, and we try to educate them on different things every month. So, like for example, we're starting February 15th, and the topic will be around how do you find community senior services in both Cobb and Cherokee. So somebody from Cobb Senior Cherokee and somebody from Cobb Senior Services and somebody from Cherokee Senior will be talking
Mm-hmm.
and giving the information about what they can do and what resources they provide. So it's a special community,
Mm-hmm.
and we hope to really educate those adult children and spouses of aging parents on how to help themselves and help their care for their loved ones.
Yeah, it's so important. Like you said, the community is one of the key for seniors to plug into, but also our kids,
Mm-hmm.
my age,
Mm-hmm.
your age, maybe, I don't know exact age, but
Mm-hmm.
obviously we're in that area of age that we have to start making decisions for our parents. Not decisions, we have to know what is out there.
Yes.
And if we
Yes.
don't know what we don't know, that can be a decision that we regret. So the more information people seek out and plug into, like you said, Frances Hall had an experience.
Mm-hmm.
She could see a need.
Mm-hmm.
So she starts
Mm-hmm.
the
Right.
organization, and now
Right.
it's coming down here. That's exciting to hear. So during that hour and a half, what's kind of the format, so our viewers can kind of get an idea what they're going to be doing during that time?
Yep. So it's very simple. They'll come in, they'll register, right? And then
Mhm.
after that, we provide them with, small snacks and drinks. But then there's going to be about 25 to 30 minutes of presentation.
Mhm.
And this will be more interactive, right?
Mhm.
And we will get expert from the different areas of the curriculums that we'll provide. So for example, we talked about somebody from Cobb Senior Services and some from Cherokee Senior Services will be talking and providing information. So that's about 25 to 30 minutes. And then we'll open it up for Q&A,
Mhm.
right? And the way that we're going to design or have the template of the meeting. So we're going to have a table of a lot of this adult children or spouses.
Mhm.
And we'd like them to also be able to know each other, right? To relate to each other and to make, to be almost like a support group in a way, so that
Mhm.
they, as they're going through maybe the same type of situation, right? There's always that best practices that they can share.
Mhm.
And that's what we want, right? So we want them to also learn from experts, but then also learn from each other.
Yes.
And be the support from each other. You mentioned something that really struck the chord there. Adult children usually, when they're trying to find information, is when there's distress, right? Their
Mhm.
parents fell sick,
Yep.
they fell, right? What we want this community to be is, because it's only once a month, is we want those adult children or spouses to come in even when there's no crisis,
Mhm.
right? We want them to be really prepared and be aware of what are available for them when the crisis happens, because when older adult, they will happen, unfortunately, right? They're ready, right? They're not scrambling, they're not stressed, they're not emotionally depressed, because the statistics is real. 50% of caregivers for adult adults will go into depression.
Really?
Just because how tough it is. Caregiving is not only physically tough, but it is emotionally draining.
Absolutely.
So if we can help them early on to equip them with the toolkits, make sure the toolbox is full. When that problem happens, they just open that toolbox and they're ready to go, right? That's what the community is. We want them to be, for them.
I can see a real need just listening to you talk, because my mom's going to be 94 in a few days, but she's up in Virginia.
Right.
Now she lives on her own in a home. One of my sisters is a nurse. The other has some flexibility. Her kids are gone. She fell. She passed out. And so that kind of puts you, like you were saying, in a crisis. Like, can mom independently do the same thing she did to get to 94?
Yes.
I mean, so each of them are working and are busy, but it's your mom. So, I mean, you move everything aside, but the one thing that people lack is, what are the resources out there? If you're scrambling, like you said, crisis is not the time to figure out all this. It's so when it does happen, and it's not a matter of if, it's when. Because the older we get, the more we are susceptible to a fall, to just different things that our bodies aren't equipped to handle.
That's right.
So I think I heard this is a new support group, new community that's starting up.
Yeah, so this is new to Georgia.
Okay.
So ACAP itself, so if you go to acapcommunity.org, you can find a lot of information. There are currently 9 chapters across the U.S. Most are in North Carolina. I think there's one in Pennsylvania. There are 3 now. 2 already started in Georgia. There's North Atlanta, and then there is the whole county, and then we're starting Cobb in Cherokee. So the community itself started, I think, 6-7 years ago, but it is new in Georgia. And we see, as someone who works in this industry, we always want to find this type of communities where we can provide the help. And the recipe is already done, Pete, right? So let's not, for us, it's like, I don't want to recreate it. Let's take them, right, from what they already have and then implement it in this area. And I think this could be a really good community for us here.
Yeah, I totally agree with the old recreate something. That takes time, energy, and resources, as opposed to an existing, thriving organization up in North Carolina that's figured out a lot of this. You're just embracing and coming alongside of them.
That's it.
To be the voice to help them reach people in the community. I mean, I know, are you working with Kathy with Cobb County Services?
Kathy Latham is, one of the person that we work with. Unfortunately, she won't be available for the presentation. So I think we're going to get somebody else from them. But Kathy and I work together a lot.
There's a number of people here that support and go to the Cobb County Services. The bus picks them up out front. It was funny because I didn't even know until about 2 or 3 months ago that they existed. I was talking to a resident, and I'm saying, "Where are you going?" And she told me where she was going. Then I bumped into Kathy at a KBA event, and I said, "Wow, so you're the person behind the bus that comes and picks up Adi." I mean, it's like, wow. So, and then she was telling me all the things, how she accessed it. It was like a world that I had no idea how ingrained in the community they are and what they do as far as servicing and taking care of our senior community. What would you say, like, we will put a link to the organization in the show notes. So our viewers, if you're out there driving, you can, obviously click on that and be able to know where to go, when you're holding it, and to have that resource available for people that need to pre-crisis to be able to get in there. So why don't you came all the way here,
Right.
So I know that this is an area of love that service and love based on your experience with your dad. What your business, what does it do? How does it serve the senior community?
Okay.
Business
So
changing hats.
From our standpoint, so in-home care is a service that it is a non-medical service. So we can help older adults when they are, one is if they just isolated, right? So we can provide quick companionship for them, making sure we do activities, like for example, Barrett Overture here, they have a lot of activities, so we can bring them down, get involved in activities like bingo and happy hours, right? Just to make sure that the older adults really get that socialization, because that is so key. That is like emotionally, right?
Totally agree.
Mentally, that is extremely needed. And COVID kind of proved that too, right? And then, but then if they have illness or they fall, then we can provide personal care. So we can help them with, bathing and grooming, showering. We can help them with, light housekeeping. We can help them with laundry. So anything that they consider as chores, we can help. Transportation is the other thing. So anything that is non-medical, that's where we can go and help them.
Awesome. So Christian, I as we wind down, we would love to have you back as you start getting more into your organization that provides that community, to give us an update, to let us understand how our community can participate and benefit, maybe even having somebody that has stepped into that role that can speak personally. Like, we went to that first meeting and we were able to come alongside, and my mom needed something, and we now know what's out there and we made the better choices, something of that scenario.
For sure.
So, okay, well, tell our viewers both how they get a hold of you, business wise, and give our information out about the organization that you're putting together.
So let me do two things. Number one is I'm going to tell them, the viewers, on how they can get involved, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
For the ACAP community especially. So I think if you are an older adult, if you're seniors, and even though you're independent and healthy, which I know a lot of you are, which is great, right? But you still want to plan ahead. So for you, the call to action is, tell your children about ACAP community. Let them understand that this is available, this is free, and make sure that they hopefully they'll attend. For the adult children, get involved, right? Plan ahead, because I tell you, in this industry, in this business, we've seen so many people that did not plan ahead, and at the end, they are really struggling in trying to care for their aging parents. So plan ahead. Come to our event; it's free. There's really no pressure on that. Even if you say you can't come, we'll record it. We'll have it as a podcast or as a webinar, in our website. So go to acapcommunity.org and you can find our chapter in there. And then if you are a company, right, we have a lot of ways that you can support us in sponsorship. Because this is free to community, we rely 100% from sponsors on the funding side. So there are sponsorship availability. So if you're a company, we would welcome talk with us. So you can call me. My phone number is 770-294-7176. That's my direct number. Or you can go to CKUSWITA, T for Tom A, at ComForCare.com, ComForCare.com. So you can contact me in those information.
Awesome. Right. Awesome. So we always like our guests to close us out and just tell, like, our viewers, like, what is the one thing you would like them to go home with today after being a part of the podcast?
And I'm going to sound like a broken record, right? Plan ahead. The journey can be so much more enjoyable if you plan ahead, right? And I think what ACAP community is going to give you is that toolkits to plan ahead. Whether it's, what legal documentations do I need to have so that, my parents can live independently, to what care options are there if something happens, right? Plan ahead, because if you don't plan ahead, it's going to be a difficult journey. But if you do, it's going to be still difficult, but it's still something that you can manage and enjoy.
That's awesome. I appreciate you coming to the studio, coming to Overture, and really sharing with our community the new resource that they're able to, embrace. And I like to say, we don't know what we don't know.
That's right.
And so if you know now, share this episode with your friend, with a colleague, that it can serve them, because Christian has given his information out. He's heading up the organization, the monthly, support community group. So we don't want it to be the best kept secret. We want people to know about it. Yeah. So feel free to share it with people you think could benefit from it. So thank you so much, Christian, for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Pete, for the time.
Absolutely.